Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's the number one Chief Rock and Knicks Universe, your main man, Uncle Freezie. I'm joined by the Queen Bee. BK Steph is in the building. You know her from Dope Soul Sports Talk. We gonna come in here and rock for a little bit in this joint that we call the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Rock it for a little while, your weekday. Queen Bee, how are you?
I'm good, Freezy. I'm a little concerned about my Knickerbockers, but overall, I'm doing all right.
Good, good. I'm not doing well.
Okay.
I am not doing well at all. I am what you may call sullen. I'm in I'm in that mood where it's like my tea's gone cold. I'm wondering why. And when that's where I'm at right now because of the Knicks. You know how I got here?
Mm, We'll be all right though.
I know. How I got here though, Queen Bee is I'm itching for the playoffs to start. And quite frankly, I can care less about these last 8 games. But then I'm thinking like if I'm feeling like this about these last 8 games and we get to the playoffs and Tom Thibodeau does his Tom Thibodeau things, it's gonna be a bad summer for Uncle Freezy emotionally. So let me ask this. And for everybody coming in and hearing this for the first time, for everybody coming in and hearing this for the first time, y'all welcome to the neighborhood. Welcome neighbors. Welcome to the neighborhood. My Knicks neighbors. Welcome to the neighborhood. Right? Queen Bee and I thought about some stuff and we think this is probably, you know what I'm saying, the dopest way to help you get through one of your lunch breaks during the week. It's by coming to the neighborhood, hanging out with Queen Bee and your main man, Uncle Freezy. But Queen Bee, should I be worried about Tom Thibodeau and the way that he coaches? Or should I be worried about him not being able to adjust to the playoffs when we get there? Should I be worried about that? Should I be concerned?
I mean, I think it is a concern, um, but not so much. I don't know if your concern is coming off of last night's loss or if your concern is based on the season or the last time we were in the playoffs. I wouldn't be concerned if it's based off of last night.
Right.
But in terms of the last time we were at the playoffs, sure. I think Tibbs is good with getting a game plan together. I don't think there's anything the Knicks face in the game that haven't been talked about or warned about. Watch out for this. If they do this, we should do that. I don't think that's the issue. I think is in a game when, all right, we see what you're saying and we know what you said we should do, but
Right.
for whatever reason, we have not been able to execute that.
Right.
It's just something else we could do right now. And I think that's been, the issue with Tom. And another concern, uh, and we're not going to know if he's changed until we get back into a series, is some coaches aren't good making adjustments within game, but they're pretty good making adjustments game to game.
Right.
Last time we were in the playoffs, I didn't see that even game to game. So I think that's, a concern as well. So take Miami last night.
Yep.
All right, it was what it was, right?
Right.
I would have liked to have seen some double teams on Hero, a little earlier in that fourth quarter. But I get it. We ain't even executing the base defense.
Right.
Everybody was hitting in that game. So yeah, okay, you double team Hero. Who's to say Vincent and those guys may not hit? They shot 50 something percent from three. So I get it. But
Right.
now the next game, if say we were playing Miami tomorrow,
Right.
what's the adjustment that you're going to make, right? So we're not going to be able to see that. Well, we play Miami Wednesday, next week Wednesday, so we might be able to see it. So that's a long way of saying, yes, there is a concern, but I've seen enough changes in Tibbs since we last met Atlanta, since even earlier in the season to feel a bit better about him making adjustments.
I understand, but what concerns me. What concerns me is last night Eric Spoelstra made an adjustment in game, and he came in with a game plan. And the game plan last night was not, hey, we're gonna shoot an ungodly number from three.
Mm-hmm.
Their mindset coming into the game was we're gonna take this fight to the Knicks and see who is the toughest,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we were not up to the challenge. How I know this, Queen Bee, the Heat, and I know I've been saying this for like 24 hours, even though the game has only been over like 12 hours, right? The Heat scored 127 points on 79 shots.
Yep.
79 shots. And they only went to the free throw line 26 times.
Mm-hmm.
They made 21 of them, right? So in theory, the 26 and 79, I'm just gonna guess that's like 105. So in theory, they took 105 shots, 26 of them free throws, and they scored 127 points for the worst scoring team in the NBA.
And not shooting team as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
One of the worst shooting teams.
one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so my thing is, it's as simple as this. Miami's tallest player last night was Bam Adebayo at 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Love is 6'8",
Mm-hmm.
right? They played the tallest guy off their bench was 6'5", right? And we trotted out Mitch and Hartenstein out there. And together, I think they got 10, 12 rebounds together from 2 7-footers, right? My thing is, when you see a team has game planned a different way, why not make an adjustment in game to what they're doing? Because what it seems to me is like when Tibbs sees that they're playing chess, instead of playing the chess game with them and trying to beat them at that game, Tibbs needs a day to say, no, we're not going to play that game. The next time we play, we're playing Twister. No, you can't do that, Tibbs. You can't beat them in this game, in this moment. You have to be able to adjust. Okay.
The adjustment was defensively, though, because even offensively, the Knicks still put up 120 points. The Knicks, that
they overcame that. That's why they scored 120, right? They knew. Think about this. The reason why the Knicks scored so many points is because they were in chase mode for the entire game. It's not like the Knicks had a 13-point lead and controlled the pace of the game and held Miami to 79 shots, and then Miami went on a run and beat the Knicks.
mm-hmm.
The Knicks were in chase mode basically from the beginning.
Right. But part of that also, and I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with it. We could have went small from the beginning. That does put a little more pressure on Julius Randle to be able to defend Bam and have to and have to score. But that's fine. But another thing is Miami came out, and this is the same thing with Minnesota, with much more urgency than the Knicks. A team whose back is against the wall, they came out sharp. Minnesota
Right.
doesn't shoot like that. Miami doesn't shoot like that. But their backs was against the wall. They're trying to get that 6 seed, both of them basically trying to get the 6 seed. They came out sharp, like super sharp.
Right.
And the Knicks got hit both games, in my opinion, early by buzzsaw. Like we sauntering in and like what we feel safe. We feel safe that we're in the playoffs, that we made it already, that we can't drop to 7. Like the Knicks were not able to match their urgency. So I think that was part of it. I thought Mitch in that first half anyway, I thought he was good. So I don't know if I would have took Mitch out and went small in
Right.
that first half because I thought Mitch was active. He probably got. I have to look at the stat. He probably got most of his points and rebounds in that first
In that
half.
first half.
He was
Right.
good. We did go small, but to your point, maybe we could have went small earlier.
Right.
But but would that have helped us defensively? Because that was the issue with the Knicks. So do you think we would have been a better defensive team taking Mitch out and going with Randall at the 5 and RJ at the 4? Because
Yes.
the defense was the issue.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because
I,
I
I'm
don't think it was us getting Mitch and iHeart getting beat as it was Hart and Josh Hart. Um, um, RJ played, pretty well, but a lot of us getting beat was from the 3 and from the perimeter. I don't know if that was Mitch and them. It wasn't like bam, the center was hitting all of those shots.
right. Right. So while you were saying that, I was looking back at the game where Randall scored 43 against the Heat.
Hmm.
Right. In that game, Mitch Robinson had played 33 minutes. He had 1 bucket, had 5 rebounds, 2 steals for 2 points. Right. This is the Randall game winner now. The one that I went crazy on the call. Oh, I can't believe Randall. Randall had 43 points in that game, right? He was absolutely roasting Bam Adebayo,
Hmm.
right? So we come off that game where Randall has 43 and roasts, absolutely torches Bam Adebayo, right? Right. We come off that game where we know they can't guard Julius Randle. Come into this game casually with a malaise, laissez-faire, right? Not even looking to go to Randall, not even looking to exploit the matchup, right? And we wind up losing in a game that the score looks a lot closer than. But the Heat controlled last night's game the whole way, even though they never pulled away from us. They controlled the game throughout.
They did. They did.
We were in chase mode the entire time, and about I think it's like 5 games ago, 7 games ago, Randall and Brunson did a number on Miami in Miami. So instead of going back to that, right, we go out and do this laissez-faire. Last night, I was like, I didn't even think they were ready to play.
No doubt about it. But keep in mind, Miami was aware that Randall put up 43 on them the last time.
Right,
Miami was aware that he's coming off a 57-point heater, and
right,
they weren't going to allow him to beat them. He
right.
commanded a lot of attention. So they
Yes.
weren't going to play him the same way. They were going to take Randall out of the game, and effectively they did.
Yeah, it
You know,
affected him. Yep.
yeah, they did. They doubled him. And matter of fact, there was a double team, and then there was a second wall of defense behind the double team. Like
Right,
he was crowded, and I think he did what he was supposed to do. He didn't force it for the most part. He moved the ball, and for the most part, the rest of the team did come through. If you look at least the scoring totals, they took
right,
Randall out, which is what they wanted to do. The rest of the team came through, but that's not what we lost because we could not get a stop. Like I was encouraged by the offense. I was encouraged by the fact, like, yo, in the playoffs, this is what's going to happen. They're going to
right,
take Randall Brunson out of the game. What is the rest of the team going to do? They responded offensively. Freezie, if
right,
we can't play defense, if we can't get up into like I was watching a game and I felt Miami on me. Like it
right,
felt tight. You know,
right,
the Miami didn't feel the Knicks. They
right.
didn't feel that they got anything they wanted whenever they wanted to get it.
Yep. Yep. I'm gonna tell you something that other NBA teams are doing,
Mhm.
right? When it matters in close games, coaches take all their bigs off the floor.
Mm.
It's the reason why Rudy Gobert was able to be traded, right? Right. Teams generally, if you don't have a Jokic or an Embiid, teams take their big men off the floor when in crunch time, basically in close games. Like in the fourth quarter, you should have saw Tibbs take um Hartenstein and Mitch off the floor, right? Because ultimately, what did they provide? Rebounding? No. Hartenstein had 4 total rebounds. Mitch had like 6 or 8 total, 6 rebounds maybe. So what did they actually provide? Rim protection?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't have, Miami didn't have dudes going to the rim like that. Jimmy Butler, I mean, it was ultimately what I'm getting at is if that was a game plan early on, okay, stick with it, okay. In winning time though, down the stretch, why we got bigs out here that can't, most NBA if you're not Joel Embiid, if you're not Jokic, if you're not the kid in Utah, Walker Kessler, you got to take Hartenstein and Mitch off the floor. And Randall at the 5, RJ, Josh Hart, whoever at the 4, Grimes at the 3, Quickly at the 2, Brunson at the 1. And that has got to be your defense. You have to, that's got to be your closing unit against a small team. If we play in Philly, then okay. I see why Hartenstein and Mitch are still out here. If we play in Milwaukee, okay, I can dig it. I see why these start. Miami didn't have the tallest man last night for Miami was 6'9".
But Freezy, do you think that's why we lost the game? Because we did
Yes.
do that. We did
Yes.
do that. We closed small.
Okay.
We closed small. So those guys played 8 minutes, and Randall played center the last 4 minutes of the game. That's when that's when we went small. So we did do that.
Okay.
But I just don't see how Mitch being in the game. Okay, I guess you figuring if Randall is at the 5, you think that he'll be able to get out to the threes a little bit better than Mitch. But I just don't think that that's why we, because Mitch wasn't getting out to the 3. Out to the 3-point line, or our centers weren't getting out to the 3-point line. That's why we lost. We should have had somebody smaller because their center was killing us with threes, and we couldn't get out there to contest. I just didn't see that in last night's game. I just didn't see this, our center not being able to get out. That's why they were scoring.
Right.
They were scoring on our perimeter guys.
I was just going to say, you saw them roasting Josh Hart. Tibbs took, when RJ was, I said this earlier too, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but when RJ Barrett was about to get in his bag, Tibbs snatched him out and put in Josh Hart. The offense and defense stalled on the spot. Right? Grimes in the third quarter was cooking. He snatched him out. The offense stalled, the defense stalled. Jalen Brunson has been bad the past such and such amount of games. He totally gets a pass from me. I don't even want to talk about Jalen Brunson defense. I know it's been bad.
You think he's hurt?
Yes, I think
he's not 100%. Okay.
I think
I was about to say,
100%.
Freezy, we know he's not a good defensive player, but there was absolutely no resistance. Like, he'll usually fight.
Right.
There was no resistance. So if you're saying you think it's because he's not 100%, okay.
Right.
But
he gets an absolute pass.
He need to get with Fred VanVleet or watch some tape over the summer, because there are some young guards with his stature that don't have his type of quickness that are pretty good defensively, and he needs to figure out what they're doing.
Right. But
that's going to happen over the summer, hopefully.
But you don't have to be an elite athlete to be a great defender, or you don't have to be bowl to be a great defender.
No, understood.
You know what I'm saying? It's more of positioning and all that stuff. Like Mr. Marcellus and Coach Hurley and them used to scream, you know what I'm saying, stuff in my ear that a grown man shouldn't be screaming at a kid. You know what I'm saying, about my defense, right? This is back in the days, right? Because it's not about, athleticism. It's about that want to stop the other player at all costs. Right. But Josh Hart, though, there is no excuse.
Right. But
G-Man in the building. What's good, G-Man?
Yeah, salute, G-Man. he had a bad heart. A bad heart. He had a bad game. It happens to the best of them.
Yeah, he been getting roasted lately though.
Lately, no doubt, no doubt. I've noticed it. I've noticed it off the dribble. Yes, he has.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one. The Knicks' entire defense is ranked over the past 10 games 25th out of 30 in the league. 25.
Right.
So it's not just Josh Hart. Everybody has been. RJ's looked a little better, a little more active, but
Right.
Quick. This hasn't been Quick's best defensive showing
No.
either.
These last two games, no. No. And part of I'm not even going to so you know what? You know how people complain and they never offer up a solution?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to offer up a solution.
Okay.
Obi Toppin.
Okay.
Last night, I would like to have seen Obi, a bigger, more athletic. And for those of y'all that's getting ready to bash Obi, before you bash Obi, go to the NBA's own website, NBA.com, and look at Obi Toppin's defensive numbers. Look at what people shoot against Obi Toppin when Obi Toppin is guarding them. Right? People, the last I checked, Obi Toppin, people were shooting 42% from the floor against Obi, or the 41%, something like that against Obi. And that includes at the rim all the way back out to the 3-point line. That's total. Right? Doesn't sound impressive, right? Doesn't sound impressive until you look at everybody else that's ranked there. When you see names like Giannis, people shooting like 43, 44% on Giannis. Look at everybody. Look at the rank. I think Obi was ranked like 40 out of like 500 players eligible. Obi Toppin was like 47, 48. So that's not impressive. Being a top 47 defender in the league, that's not impressive. That's not going to get you on an all NBA team or none of that stuff. But when you're talking about a team that's struggling defensively, you need all the help you can get. And if you got help on your bench, you got to come on, Tibbs. Come on, Tibbs. You got it. And I know Tibbs is taking an old school approach to Grimes and Quickly and RJ in a development. He bringing them along slow. He not giving them the keys. He bringing them all along slow. But man, listen. Jimmy Butler is 6'7", 230. And we're guarding him with Josh Hart, 6'5", 205.
You're not putting Obi on Butler though.
Yeah, I'm trying to give him a different look. What does
I
Jimmy
might be trying to give him a little. We better put Johnny Bryant out there. Like I'll be trying to give him a different look too. I don't know if Obi is that different look though. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Obi. I hear the stats, but context matters.
Right.
42% in Obi's 11 minutes. Who is he playing? Versus a 42% against somebody who's playing the entire game and playing top competition. Right. So we have to put some context in there. Listen, I think Obi's defense has been better. I think his defensive awareness has been better as well.
Right.
But I don't think I'm taking Obi Toppin, who's been playing 11 minutes most of the season, and putting him on Jimmy Butler, one of the best players in the clutch in this league. I don't know. I don't know.
What was the other result? Not playing Obi and letting him score 33 points and we lose.
But I don't think Obi. I agree with you. Give him a different look. Maybe put Randall on him. But you're asking Randall to do a lot offensively and defensively. Right. But put Randall on him for a possession or two. Put put RJ on him for a possession or two. Double team him. Try to get the ball out of his hand. So I agree with you. There were other things to be done, but this is the thing though that makes it difficult. Everybody was shooting for Miami. It wasn't like Jimmy Butler just went on this barrage of scoring and everybody else was just standing around. So you want to get the ball out of his hand. He got his points within the flow of the offense. Everybody got their points within the flow of the offense. So when that happens, it's kind of hard to, or I'm going to double this guy. Everybody's hitting. They shot 57% for 57% for the game or something.
Right. On 7.
But I agree with you. Try something.
What's the alternative? The
Oh, yeah.
alternative was let it play out like it did and get the result that you got.
Yeah, but I think it could have been worse. But then again, if had you put Obi on Jimmy Butler, but you could have took him off. You could have, if it didn't work, you could have took him off of him. But
But you get these 15 roster spots so that you can try stuff, right? So you can be because this right here. Okay, so this right here, the Miami game, I know it's an emotional game because it's our pseudo rival, and when we see the Miami jersey, we think a certain way. We think back to days in the past where it's like, you know, this game means something,
mhm.
right? But when you watch, I mean, everybody was getting torched, like you're saying, and we didn't adjust. We didn't try anything. You didn't try to zone up a little bit.
Nah, we're
You,
not gonna
you
play
didn't,
it because that's not what we do.
right, right. But therein lies. That's the point that I'm getting. That's not what we do. So we're not gonna try new stuff.
Right. But you can't if that's not something you do, Freeze, you can't just pull out a zone. Now, if you want to say that's something we should be practicing so we have it in our arsenal, I would agree. But you can't just pull out a zone. And the other thing I will say, you can even say that a zone is harder because there's no clear assignments.
Right,
So in terms of defensive awareness, playing a zone, it's not easier. You
right,
really have to be on a string playing a zone.
right,
Or guys will get open shots and people just looking at each other like, oh, well, whose man was that? So
right.
yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot of different things we should have done. But how do you do that when the team doesn't show up defensively?
Okay.
Right? Like,
So how many games in a row was this though? Is this
sure, too. Who did we play before Mini? Denver. We were good. We were okay.
yeah,
We were okay
we were all right against Denver. Yeah.
against Denver. Yeah.
Denver was struggling a little bit too.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So yeah, so we struggled in that Lakers game, but we found a way to pull it out. We lost to the Clippers the night before that. We lost to the Kings that week. We lost to the Hornets too. In the last 8 games, we're 3-5. Right. So I'm not ready to say the sky is falling. I'm saying there is something to this thing that we saw last night, and it's got me a little nervous. Right? Okay, let me ask you this. Is this
Yeah.
defense fixable?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. I think it is. Because I don't think it's all scheme. Why do
Okay.
the Knicks play better during some stretches of the season and not better than it's the same scheme,
Right.
so I think it's fixable. Listen, coming into last night's game, Miami was in the 20s over their last 10 games defensively.
Okay.
And Spoelstra even said, we have not been playing well defensively, but I just believe we're going to turn it around. He didn't change
Okay.
his scheme.
Okay.
So it's the same thing for the Knicks. The Knicks have to turn it around, but it starts with each individual player being better. Quickly is going to be better. He's
Okay.
been one of our best perimeter defenders on the season, and you can argue even better than Grimes.
Yeah, he's no, he's better than Grimes. There's
Yes,
no
on
argument.
perimeter defenders, right?
Yeah,
He'll
yeah,
be better.
yeah.
Grimes will be better. Josh Hart will be better. I just believe that these guys will be better.
Um,
Freezy said, I don't think so.
no, I'm thinking about how. Like you remember, there was a point that you made
Look,
that the Knicks defense was bad before Mitchell Robinson got hurt. Remember that? And then when Mitch was out, the defense was up and down when Mitch was out.
mhm.
And then the defense turned the corner and then got better. And then Mitch came back and he was like, but now the up and down of the defense over the season, it concerns me because the defense is backsliding at a time where you want your team to be hitting on all cylinders
No
going
doubt
into the
about it.
playoffs.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So it concerns me that
Yeah.
there is no clear answer. Like, what are we gonna, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So so the it concerned me that a team that took only 79 shots scored 127 points. That's very frustrating.
Right. But teams will have games like that, Freezy, where everything they throw up will go in. I mean,
Right.
I mean, look where they are. They came into this game a half game out of six, or a game out of six. You knew you were getting their best effort,
Right.
because they want to move into the sixth spot. The same thing with Minnesota. Minnesota was in eighth place when they played the Knicks, but they were only a game and a half out of six. You know
Okay.
you getting the Knicks, to me, I feel like are not matching, at least these last two games, they're not matching their urgency. Do they feel comfortable that, we're gonna make the playoffs? Like, they're not playing, those guys are coming out on fire. Sharp.
Right. I I disagree with you.
Okay.
And here's why. I think it's less of a matching their energy thing
Hmm.
and more that the system is flawed and coaches have found something on tape to exploit Tom Thibodeau's defense. Now, do I know exactly what it is? No. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know something that I don't,
Hmm.
right? But I think there is something on tape that teams of coaches have found that can exploit Tom Thibodeau's defense, and teams that have that data have used it all year in those weird games. Like, you can't believe the Knicks gave up 140 points in the regular season in a 48-minute game, or you can't believe the Knicks gave up 127 points on 79 shots. I think there's something out there, like, and I don't know what it is. Right. But there's a guy on YouTube who does the video breakdowns and such. I forget it, his name escapes me at the moment, but he just put a video out about how teams have something on Tom Thibodeau's defense, right?
Hmm.
Which, regardless of the personnel and the effort and the pace of play, if teams have unlocked something against Tom Thibodeau's defense, if we don't fix it right away, then what's going to happen is, like, for instance, when I saw the guys last, it looked to me like everybody was playing hard, but it appeared every now and then that somebody from the other team would get a wide open shot from three or a good shot from three. And then once they get rolling, they just start taking those one-legged threes like Tyler Hero. That one-legged three Tyler Hero hit in the corner in the fourth quarter when he was contested. By that time, it's too late. They already have confidence.
Yeah, listen, you can look at any team, and all of these teams are well scouted, right? You can pick any team in this league, go through what they do offensively and defensively, and figure out what you need to do to stop it or take advantage of it. That's for every single team in this league, right?
Right, right.
So it's yeah, the Nick a team has found something that the Knicks don't do well, or something about the Knicks defense that they can exploit. You can pick any team that's going to be true for. The issue is, can you exploit it? So Miami is not a team that would usually exploit three-point shooting. They're a
Right,
bad three-point shooting team. So they
right.
can say, oh, the Knicks give up a lot of threes. We're going to exploit that. Okay. But you got to have a team that's able to do that. And Miami is not one of those teams. But last night, they were on a heater. They shot 57. You're not going to win. And the Knicks were still in the game. They shot 57% from three. They put up 28. They hit 16 of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's not something they would usually do. So I'm not sure. I'm sure they see it. But last night they were able to take advantage of it. And that was, that was the difference. Pick any team. The Knicks do it too. The Knicks looked at Denver and they probably said, look, this is their weak point. This is what
Right.
we need to be able to take advantage of if we want to win.
Right.
But
Right.
if it's a really good team and you're not a good team, you can't take advantage of it. I think Miami, it was just one of those nights for them, but I still feel like the Knicks didn't meet the moment. Like they didn't, I'm sure they talked about it, but I don't think they understand. And I think and I'm happy that this is happening now and not in the playoffs, that they
Okay.
understand everybody is playing with a sense of urgency in the playoffs. Like teams are ratcheting it up now to get in position. You got to be ready for that.
But the Knicks are not.
They're not. And they're going to wind up 0-2 if they don't get it.
Right. Right. That's interesting that in high leverage games, the Knicks are not meeting energy of borderline playoff teams.
I'm not necessarily energy. Understanding what the moment is asking of you. Because to your point, I don't think the Knicks were lethargic.
Right.
So I don't think they were like slow and lethargic. I just don't think they were sharp.
Right.
Like remember when we went on that West Coast trip early in the season when we thought Tibbs was about to get fired?
Yeah.
The Knicks played I think it was Utah. Randall got the tip, fell on the floor, got a deflection, fell on it, got it, threw it to Brunson for a dunk. Like their sense of urgency led to sharpness, led to them being super sharp. Same thing with
Right.
Miami. Their sense of urgency led to them being super sharp. The Knicks don't have that
A
right
sense of
now.
urgency.
That sense of urgency. And listen, it's hard to duplicate that when you're already in the 5th seed. And somebody who's trying to get something that you already have is going to have the edge. That's just human nature. They're going to have the edge.
Right.
I'm not sure how they
So they're comfortable.
I can't say for sure, but I feel like it. I don't
But
feel like they're coming out like, yo, we cannot fall behind that dotted line.
right.
We
Right.
cannot fall behind that dotted line. By dotted line, if you look at NBA.com, they
Yeah.
separate the playoffs from the play-in by a dotted line. You
Right.
can't fall below that.
Right.
There are no guarantees if you finish 7th or 8th.
Right.
None.
This is a frustrating place to be at.
Down the
As
stretch.
a fan.
Mhm.
As a fan, it's a frustrating proposition because you see this team fight so hard during the year, and now down the stretch, the perception maybe they're easing off the gas. Okay. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Maybe they don't understand. I mean, I don't think they're doing it consciously. I just don't think they're not getting it. They not getting it. And listen, we got some easier games down the stretch. We got Miami one more time. We got Cleveland, and we got twice against Indiana, another game against New Orleans. But when you're not playing well, even those games are hard. They may
Yeah.
look easy, but when you're not playing well, even those games are hard.
Yeah, they get checks too. They get paid just like Knicks players get paid.
Correct.
Right. So yeah, so that's the reason why I'm saying that I feel like I'm in this weird malaise of cloudy day syndrome. I'm calling it for myself, where I think the team can perform better.
Yeah.
You don't know if they have already peaked and just don't have the gas to finish strong,
Mm-hmm.
or if teams are just more thirsty, like what you said, or if guys are hurt, nursing injuries, trying to play through it, or if the old school coach just doesn't know how to make in-game adjustments,
It could be a
or
little bit
if
of
it's a
all of it.
combination of
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It probably is a combination.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if it's that, then man, what do we do going forward? Like, what are we gonna do?
I mean, I do think in the playoffs, the Knicks will raise their level of play. It's something about the playoffs where it's like, all right, I think you kind of get the urgency, of it. But
So they feel like now they feel. I'm gonna just say this. I'm not being disrespectful. I just want to ask you this.
mhm,
So you feel like they may feel like they can flip a switch?
I hope they don't, because
Me
it don't
too.
work like that. It
Right.
doesn't work like that. You want to go into the playoffs playing your best basketball.
Right.
This ain't the time to be having hiccups.
Right.
It's just not. And
Um.
this game tonight, Freezy, is not a gimme either. Orlando is playing over 500 or at least close to 500 basketball since the All-Star break. I think they beat Miami and another good team recently. So this
They
is
own
not
the
a gimme.
Celtics. They own the Celtics now, right?
It's the Celtics. Okay. So it's not going to be a gimme tonight either.
I think this is a gimme.
Freezy.
Listen,
The way
Queen
that
Bee.
Knicks have been playing these last two games, you think tonight is a gimme? Now,
I,
this is what I'll say. If the Knicks are the team I think they are, they win tonight. I'll say that. I don't know if I want to say it's a gimme.
I'm saying this is a gimme.
Okay.
I'm saying the Houston Rockets next week is a gimme.
Okay.
Right. I'm saying Miami next Wednesday in the Garden is a gimme.
Then you should
Right.
be good money then. You shouldn't be concerned at all. If all of these games are gimmies,
Then why
then you
am I
shouldn't
in
even be.
this?
Why are you concerned then?
Why am I in this cloudy day malaise?
Right.
Because I think these games should be gimmies. But I also, when you watch, if this theory that I'm afraid of, and I'm afraid of it, if this theory that teams have figured out Tibbs' defense is true, then the teams with talent, like you mentioned, are going to exploit that. And to the point that you also made, teams without talent, and maybe I'm looking at it differently, or maybe I'm confusing. But the teams without talent won't be able to exploit. I
Correct.
think Orlando is one. I think Houston is one, right? And I think the game in the Garden next week against Miami, Miami better play their A game. Alonzo Mourning ain't coming in the Garden to save them. You know what I'm saying? Dwayne Wade ain't coming in the Garden next Wednesday to save them. This was a tough, hard fought loss that we had last night.
Right.
And we understand if you play a team 4 times, the likelihood of you beating them 4 times
Right.
is small,
Right.
right? Or however many times we play them. But normally you don't sweep a team during the regular season like a Miami Heat.
Right.
You
That's
just don't sweep them. They don't
right.
take like stuff like that laying down, right? But yeah, Queen B, I'm not worried about the players. I'm worried about the coach. I
Yeah.
think the coach may have been figured out.
Listen, Tibbs in-game adjustments is fair. That is legit, And sometimes he'll make adjustments, and I felt like he should have made it. He could have made it earlier. Go with
Right.
small ball. Maybe he could have. He did it with the last 4 minutes. Maybe a little earlier. Doubling hero. He did it at some point. In the game. Maybe he could have did it. You know, um, a little earlier. So
Right.
that is a concern. But another concern is that we're going into the playoffs with a young team.
Yeah.
We're going into the playoffs. I mean, all right, Quickly was in the playoffs before, but not in this role. Grimes hasn't been. So we're going in the playoffs with a young team in important positions. It's not like we're going in with a young team and they're like eighth in the rotation, ninth in the rotation. You give us something, you fine. If not, you don't. We're counting on Quickly in this playoffs. We're counting
Right.
on Grimes in the playoffs.
Right.
That's a concern as well, in addition to Tibbs. And another concern is our lack of perimeter shooting.
Right.
So there's multiple concerns going into the playoffs.
Here's another
That's why
one.
I'm saying, Freezy, I'm gonna say this preemptively. If the Knicks lose in the first half, now I gotta come in with my therapy hat. I gotta come in, because people want to get rid of everybody because the Knicks are not going to be a favorite in that first round. They're
Right.
not going to be favorites in that first round, no matter who we play.
Okay.
So for those who are saying if the Knicks don't get out of the first round, they're going to be down on Tibbs, they're going to be down on Randall and Brunson and all of these guys. To me, it's not about whether they get out the first round. It's about how do they play in that first round. Because we're counting on players you should not be counting on if you're trying to get to the second and third round.
I understand what you're saying. I gotta throw a fly in the ointment.
Okay.
Mitchell Robinson is questionable tonight against Orlando
I'm okay with that.
with a knee injury, right? And so if Mitchell Robinson is questionable tonight, that means he's hurt, right? If Mitch is hurt right now, do you just sit Mitch until he gets healthy so you can have him healthy in the playoffs?
Yep.
Or do you play him to help secure the number 5 seed?
Nah. I think we'll be all right without Mitch. Listen, I'm not trying to downplay Mitch. But I just feel like between Hartenstein and Sims, we'll be okay until he gets back. So if he can't go, he can't go. Next man up, Sims. He's gonna rebound for us. He's gonna get those same alley oops. He's not Mitch. We're not gonna get the rim protection you get with Mitch. But
Right.
we've played without Mitch for 14 games.
Right.
So I would let Mitch sit
How long are you setting him?
until he's ready to play.
Till he's ready to play or until he's healthy?
Till he's until he's ready to.
See, because
I'm not bringing him back early.
Brunson is ready to play, but he don't look healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But okay, but this is the thing. I think we can finish in the top 6, 5 or 6
Okay.
without Mitch. I think it's going to be hard to finish 5 or 6 without Brunson.
Okay.
So even Brunson at, what do you think he is? 80%?
Brunson?
You don't think he's 80?
No.
You think he's more than that?
I think he's way less than that.
You
I
think
think
he's less than
Brunson.
that?
I think Brunson, to his credit, I think Brunson is maybe 65, 70, but he's gutting his way through it.
But I don't see him out there limping. I mean, not limping, but I guess he's not one of those guys. Like some guys, you could tell they're not 100% because they'll grimace or they'll do something to let you know they're not 100. I don't see
Right.
none of that. All I see is messing up off those double teams, trying to get the ball out of those double
Right.
teams
Yeah.
last night with the 5 turnovers,
Right.
which is not like him.
Right. And how I saw it at the end of the game
I'll
yesterday.
be right back. I'm here, Freeze. I'm listening. I got.
Okay. All right. No doubt. So Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says, I see a little holding back by Randall and Brunson for the playoffs. Possibly, potentially, maybe. I'm not for sure. And Paris Duggar, again, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says, Brunson, especially being careful with his foot. I can see that. I can see that also. My thing with Brunson being careful, I would rather. Okay, so here's the thing. If Brunson is holding back, and we're still losing, why are we even playing them?
Because we didn't we don't I don't think we go in thinking we're gonna lose though.
Right, right. But what I'm saying is Jalen Brunson at 70% is Emmanuel Quickly. So why not let Quickly do it? In my mind,
You can, but Quickly ain't been playing his greatest basketball either.
coming off the
But you
bench, right,
can.
right.
You can.
I'm saying I think there's a difference between Brunson as a starter. I mean, I'm Quickly as a starter and Quickly coming off the bench. I think there's a difference.
If you're not playing well, Freeze, you're not playing well. Would you think he's gonna defend better in the starting? I mean, maybe he will. I don't think the difference is that he's coming off the bench. I think if you sometimes you go through stretches in which you don't play well, I don't think it matters whether you're starting or coming off the bench. He's not playing well right now. I'm not gonna dog Quickly because I think a guy can have a bad game or a bad stretch of games, and it doesn't change the narrative on that guy.
Yeah,
So
because
I'm
it's
not
82
down on him
games.
at all.
Because it's 82 games, and
Yeah, I'm
even
not.
though you're gonna get, for the most part, on most nights, you're gonna get everybody's best effort, but you may
Right.
not get the best results or
Correct.
the results that you desire. Um, so
Wow, Jeremy. I mean, Knick fans, relax. I mean, we we lose a game or something, and yeah, and we jumping off the ledge. Come on.
um, potentially, I'm not gonna say a complete mess. I don't even want to say a mess, but the House of Cards thing, though, is the most interesting part of this comment to me.
Mhm.
And not that everything is shaky, but if one loose card gives way, it affects everything else. You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting. Like the Knicks look different when with Jalen Brunson hurt. I,
That's
I
with
feel,
any team, though.
yeah, yeah, but but us without Jalen Brunson is last year's team. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I feel about it, and maybe I'm wrong.
But I think Randall is better this year than last year.
I think he's better because Brunson's here. If Brunson was here last year, even with that same roster, I think Randall is a 3-time All-Star, right? Because it says something about a team where you have two dependable guys that you can go to on a nightly basis, as opposed to one guy getting all the focus from a defense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But would you say though that people are overestimating um Brunson's impact on Randall? Like some people are acting like um Brunson, it's because of Brunson that Randall is um holding his emotions in check. It's because of Brunson that Randall is shooting the way he's shooting from the three. It's because like I mean, I get it. I do think you're right. Brunson is having an impact on Randall's game and vice versa because they
Yeah,
can't load up on one guy.
right.
But he still worked on his game.
I, I
He still worked on his game. He still worked on his emotionality, and that was the work he did.
that's the work he did.
That's the work he did. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I think you can compare like when you're an NBA player, I think you could compare being a star in the NBA to moving a sofa, right?
Mhm.
When you got to move that sofa by yourself,
Right.
that thing will wear you
Yeah.
out
No.
and you
Oh,
get
no
so
doubt.
frustrated.
No doubt.
But then when you get somebody else to help you move the sofa,
It's
two
easier.
people, it's easier.
Oh,
And
no
then
doubt.
when you got three people moving the sofa,
Right.
it's a breeze.
It's a breeze. Yeah. That
Right.
no doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
That's what I think. That's what I liken it to last year, compared to last year.
Right.
I
Right.
think Julius Randle had to move the sofa by himself,
Right.
and he got frustrated beyond. And so I say that not to discredit Jalen Brunson.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is moving that sofa is a lot easier when you got somebody that can help you move it.
No doubt. No doubt.
No matter which side of the couch you're on, whether you're Brunson trying to move it and you have Randall helping you, or if
Mhm.
you're Randall trying to move the sofa and you got Brunson helping you. It's
Correct.
just
Correct.
easier having help.
Yeah. No doubt about it. And to Sherwin's point, no doubt about it that Randall is getting less double teams because um Brunson is there. I mean, I think he's still getting double teamed, but I also think that because Brunson is here and quickly has grown up and taken the next step, the Knicks are making them pay for those same double teams that they couldn't make them pay for last season.
Let me ask, because I agree with you, and we're coming up on the 60-minute mark, and I wanted
Mhm.
to have this conversation with you, because I have it with the guys, and they get so all over the place. They take it 0 to 60, right? I just want to have this conversation with you, right? We here, we got like 30 minutes.
Mhm.
I want to ask you. I'm gonna just ask you this question. Excuse me. Pardon me. Do the Knicks need someone else to get this team over the top, or is this Knicks team good enough to get over the top if we just develop in house?
um,
Say Mitchell Robinson comes back from the summer and has a little bit of offense. Is that all we need? Say Grimes
um,
comes back. Say Grimes and quickly come back and they shoot 40% from three next year. Do you need to go out and get somebody else?
no. And say RJ grows 2 inches over the snow.
Yeah, yeah. Say. Or you know what? Oh, even say RJ Barrett comes back at the weight around 214, 215, and gets back to knocking down threes at a 40% clip.
Then no, you don't. I think those are the things the Knicks need, whether you get them internally from the players you have or whether you go out and get them, it doesn't matter. The Knicks need, I don't know, we need a little bit more offense from Mitchell Robinson, but it will help. We
Right,
definitely need better 3-point shooters. And we
right.
definitely need RJ to be a better 3-point shooter and a better defender. The thing is, though, you got to go out. The time to sign players is in the off season. The time to find out whether or not players have grown internally, you're not going to really find that out until the games start next year. you
Okay,
know,
right.
so the Knicks can't be like, oh, I think Grimes is going to come back as a 40% shooter. I think RJ is going to come back 215 pounds and be a better defender. I don't. We can just stand pat. I
Okay,
think they're in that, you know, do we upgrade or do we wait and hold out for what we think is going to be internal growth from our players? And I think the playoffs will tell you that.
okay,
If
okay.
the Knicks make it, if the Knicks lose in the sixth round, excuse me, in the sixth game of round two, maybe you closer than you thought you were.
Right.
And maybe you got to go out and make the changes through free agency or through trades. If the Knicks get blown out 4-0, you ain't as close as you thought you
Everybody got
was.
to go.
Well, you could do that. That's one way to look at it. Everybody got to go. Another way to look at it, we
Yeah.
might as well just wait for Grimes. We ain't ready anyway.
Right. Right.
I mean, there's two ways you could think about it.
Right. Because here's the thing. When I hear it, when I hear it, I often when I hear the statement that I made,
Mhm.
right? When I hear the question that I posed, do the Knicks go out and get a guy, or do you improve internally? When I hear the answers are loose and reckless, right? The answers are loose and reckless. The answers are like, well, just trade for Brandon Ingram. Hey, bro, what has Brandon Ingram ever won? When has Brandon Ingram ever played on a team you felt like, when has Brandon Ingram ever put a team in position to overcome a flawed roster and win games despite having a flaw? Brandon Ingram has never done that. He's just a cute name for a nebulous star search, right? Right? Just go out and get Bradley Beal, right? What has Bradley Beal done when he was a franchise player? Nothing. Well, Uncle Freezie, just go out and get Zach LaVine. Really, what has Zach LaVine ever done to prove to you that he's a franchise player? And then, mind you, you're giving up stuff to get these people, right? Now, if it was hey, you know what? Hey, Uncle Freezie, the rumor is that Jaylen Brown is coming. Okay, I'm open for a Jaylen Brown acquisition because you see how Jaylen Brown impacts winning in Boston, right? Jaylen Brown is an upgrade. But for everybody else, for all these other people, I'm thinking, who are we going to get that has proven in the league that they are able to do it and at a high level and being the first, second, or third option when they get here? I don't know if that the only player out there that I think can help this team get over the hump is Jimmy Butler.
I mean, listen, what I'll say to that is, what do the
Because he's
Knicks
a fit, because he plays between two people, is what I'm saying.
right? I think it's, what do the Knicks need? And the playoffs are going to tell us that. Do we need a complementary piece or do we need a star? So to your point, if Randall and Jalen Brunson fall flat on their face, you could take the tack that, listen, this is their first time in the playoffs. They have to grow together over multiple playoffs. I mean, others have done it. Wasn't the first time together that they did something. They had to grow into it. Or you could take the tack that, nah, we're going to have to go out and get a star. And none of those guys you named are stars. However, if the Knicks, comes to find out the Knicks just need a piece, then I think those guys might be a piece. Now, the Knicks need perimeter shooting. Bill is a good perimeter shooter. However, my issue with Bill is his injury history and how much it would take to get him. That's my issue with Bill. My issue with Brandon Ingram is his injury history. I don't think he has to carry the team. So I'm not going to take anything away from him because he wasn't able to carry the Pelicans, because we're not looking for him to carry us. We're looking for him to be a piece. But he hasn't been injured. He hasn't been healthy enough to be a piece. So I'm not flying trying to get Brandon Ingram, who misses about 40 games a season. I know, because I'll have him on my fantasy team thinking this is going to be the year that he stays healthy.
Every
and
year.
Never happens.
You
know what I
year,
mean?
this is going to be the year. Yeah.
So, but the general point I want to make is, just because a player wasn't able to carry their own team doesn't mean there can't be a piece on this team. That's all I'm saying. But injury history, money, what it would take to get them, all of that becomes factors as well.
I understand what you're saying. And I really, really, really take an opposing stance to that. And the reason being is because this team, without major moves, made progress and steps. And in order to get said player to help move closer, you're probably going to have to trade away some of the pieces that help this team progress. Right. And listen, and I'm not saying that I'm attached to a player. I'm attached to winning. Right. This team, in order for, we got rid of dead weight and started winning. Right. And now the parts that help contribute to winning, we're consider moving them for Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is.
It's crazy. I don't know if Bradley Beal is the good example.
Oh, okay. So who would be the good example?
I'm not sure who the I'm not sure who the example is.
I'm not saying it to be debatable. I'm asking so that I can give a better example.
Right. You got to give to get Freezie. And let me tell you something. You can let this team internally grow forever. They're not going to grow into a championship contending team, in my opinion, if you just let this team stay the way it is. Right? You got to identify who your core is, and you got to be willing to move the pieces around that core. Every team does it. They identify their core, and if you're not part of that core, if we see another piece that's going to make us better, you got to be willing. You got to be willing to let that player go. The question is, who's the Knicks core? Has it even been differentiated yet? You know, is hard to tell. But
Right.
you got to be willing, unless you believe that this 9-man rotation over 2-3 years is going to be a championship contending team with no changes.
No.
No. So then you're
No.
going to have to give up. You're going to have to get off of some of them.
Okay. All right. Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says Brunson is kinda sorta playing to stay in rhythm. Okay. All right. And Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says JB is 80%. Julius Randle's improvement, no pressure equals great JR. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
80% is kind of high, but I get it. I get it.
Okay. Okay. And so the thing the thing I question is this. Is Tibbs going to be open to a superstar coming here and playing a superstar's style of basketball?
Yeah, he's
Right.
all for ISO. He don't have a problem with it.
Right. Right. But yeah, but I'm trying to figure out the conversations Tibbs having with Kevin Durant, who may be nursing a hamstring, and he like, KD, you missed that rotation over there. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm
Or
this is what I'm
Dame
talking about.
Lillard. Or Dame Lillard.
Yeah,
Oh, right,
Dame,
right.
you got to put your Dame. Listen, I know you 34. I know you the greatest player in Trailblazers history, but you got to put that shoulder and that hip going around that screen. Those are the type of those are the type of conversations that's what I'm talking about. Is Tibbs gonna be that guy when you get a star? Like Tibbs conversation with Anthony Davis is, yo, AD man, listen, I know you grabbed 13 boards, bro, but those the last two of the game, bro, we needed those last two. Like, man, I already got you 13. You want me to average 15 a game, Tibbs? I mean, you want me to put, and this is Anthony Davis talking to Tibbs. You want me to put my body on the line for those last two free? Okay, I'll do it. And then AD out 6 to 8 weeks.
Listen, Julius Randle missed that rebound last night, on 2 nights ago.
Right.
And what did Tibbs say? It happens.
Right.
He knows he should have got it. It happens. I think that there's certain things that don't need to be said, especially to the superstars in this league. They already know what it is. They're going to be getting on themselves for missing the 2 rebounds. They're going to be getting on themselves for missing a rotation, because in order to play at that level and to be at that level, you take pride in what you do. I've never seen a sloppy all-star.
Nope.
And by that meaning, not that they don't make mistakes, but that they're not sitting there like, if I would have just did this,
Right.
we could have won. Like, most of the superstars have that mentality anyway.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with Tibbs, and I don't think Tibbs is going to be calling them out and going to them and saying, they know what they're supposed to do. That's the
So
thing
you
about
think Tibbs can
superstars.
coach it?
They're easier to coach.
I-
Nothing needs to be said. When I had the best players on my team, nothing needed to be said because they already
Right.
knew it.
They already knew.
They already knew
Right.
it.
Right. I'm just thinking, I don't know if Tibbs knows how to coach superstars. Because even though nothing needs to be said, I just think Tibbs gives me Larry Brown vibes.
Nah. Larry Brown was Larry Brown was a
Crazy.
crybaby. Yeah, like, he was always whining about something.
Yeah.
And always throwing people underneath the bus. And I don't really see that. But in terms of expectations, in terms of what they expect, yeah, their style, and this is how we're gonna do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In that respect.
I think Tibbs gives me those vibes. I understand it's not universal,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is Tibbs gives me those vibes where he feels as a head coach, he don't have to communicate with today's players. Tibbs gives me the vibes of this is the game plan. I don't care about your feedback. Tibbs gives me the vibes of once the game plan is set, we're not going to deviate from it. Tibbs gives me the vibes that I don't care if you're on a heater. Winning, winning is more important than your personal feelings,
Well, it is.
right? But not if you're losing, because winning is winning, and losing is not winning when you're sticking to a thing and it didn't work out.
But just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it wasn't the right decision. There's
Right.
many things that did work out and it was the wrong decision. You
Right.
spent your mortgage payment at the casino and you won, it still was the wrong decision. It just happened
Right.
to work out,
It just happened to
and
work out.
vice versa. You know,
Can
I
you
think,
but can you explain that to Tibbs though? Can you get Tibbs to believe that?
but the point I'm trying to make is just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it wasn't the right decision. It's
Right.
the opposite as well. You know,
Right.
um,
But you took a chance though with your
yeah,
mortgage payment at the
but it was
casino.
reckless. It was reckless
It
though.
was yeah, but it paid off.
But it was reckless though, because that
I
ten
want
percent
somebody to explain that to Tibbs.
that 10% chance that it worked out, that 90% chance you being homeless now.
Yeah, I know. I know. But I need to
I think Tibbs will be all right. Listen, I think, you know, we're 10 games over 500, and a lot of that is Tibbs too. It's not just the players. A lot of that is Tibbs too.
right.
Putting them in the right, right position. So I think with Tibbs, with the coaching staff, with any player, there's positive and negative.
Negatives.
The
Yep.
question is it a net positive? And I
Yep.
think for this team with Tibbs this year, it's been a net positive. But I think the
Definitely.
critique of him has been fair. And I'm looking, to see, in the playoffs. But the thing about it is a lot of times for us, our assessment is just it didn't work, so it was the wrong decision. And I think it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Mm, okay. I'm thinking if we were to trade for a star, I think the layers of the onion would be pulled back on the way that we're doing. See, basically what I'm getting at is we can't just go get any star. We have to get a star that fits our culture, and that's what makes the star search so difficult to complete. Like you just can't go out and get any guy. You got to be a high character guy first and foremost in order for you know what I'm saying. I mean, think about it. At the trade deadline, the Knicks traded for another dude with a biblical name. The dude named Joshua. His name Joshua Hart. You know what I'm saying? So now you got Josh and Isaiah and Emmanuel and Obadiah. You know what I'm saying? They didn't, I mean, that's first and foremost. Secondly, the Knicks have to trade for a guy that's in this star search that's either on his first contract or second contract and blossomed into a star on his second deal, right? Because we're not going to be able to, we can't afford a guy that's going to make $60 million. It means you have to move too many pieces in order to get him. You know what I'm saying? In order to get him, and then put pieces around him.
Mhm.
So ultimately, when you talk about like all these like who's the fit, I don't know if the Knicks can trade for a star. I don't even know if it's worth it. I think what they're going to do is continue to find more Josh Harts. I think that's what they're going to do. Continue to find more good players to put around Randall and Jalen Brunson.
Again, well, listen. A lot of it is going to depend on the growth of Brunson and Randall. If those guys are stars, then you can find pieces to put around them. If they not, if you find out those guys are number twos and number threes, you might have to give up one of them to get your star. Right? I mean, if a star becomes available, you might have to give up one of those guys.
You may have to
If
give
you
up
feel like
two of
they're
them.
not a star, like that's what we're gonna see. If they're stars, you're good. Like people are getting. Was Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum always who they are right now, or did they grow into that?
No, they had to grow into it. They had to grow into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they grew into it. Why? Because they had multiple shots at the playoffs to figure out what the playoffs was.
Right.
And know, oh, okay, I know what it is now. I didn't perform well in the playoffs. The next time I get back here, I got to do this. The Knicks went one time.
I want to highlight what JJ said. Shout out to JJ. Right. JJ said definitely see them making a big trade in the offseason. I can see them making a big trade. I don't see them getting a great player. I can see them making a big move. You know what I'm saying? Packaging 2 or 3 of the kids for, say, a guy that's good, but I don't know what star fits that criteria. Right? The only, in my mind, the only way the Knicks can make a big enough move in order to reshape the franchise is by including Randall in a trade.
Or Brunson, if it's a
And
point guard.
right, and for the record, I don't want to trade Julius Randle. I don't. But the only thing I can see is Randall and 2 of the kids and some draft picks for like an Embiid. And I know Philly probably has 9 power forwards. I'm not thinking about the logistics of it. I'm just talking about the execution of it. The only thing I can see is Mitchell Robinson and something going to Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns. Right? And then you have the ability for Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns to run a pick and roll with the greatest shooting big man that ever lived, and Tibbs losing his mind because neither one of them will play defense. That's all I can see there. I don't know if, I mean, because for the money, for in my mind, Queen Bee, I ain't gonna lie, in my mind, I would love to see the Knicks upgrade on the wing, an elite athlete on the wing. I
That can
saw
play. Not
that
just athletic, but that can play.
that can play. That
Right.
can play. I don't, whether he's an elite athlete or not. I just need somebody that can play. Right. But I prefer you know what? I know Miles Bridges is a bad person, and I know he don't have a biblical name. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he can change his name to Mark when he get here. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I think that is what the Knicks miss right now.
You think he can play the 3 though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think he
thought he
could
was a
play.
power forward.
Nah, he's like 6'6",
Yeah.
220,
Oh, okay.
mega athlete. I think they may have played him at the 4 in some lineups,
Mhm.
but he's not a no, he's not in my mind, he's not a traditional 4. He's not a Randall. I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So is there a trade out there that you are comfortable with making?
Anyone that's going to upgrade this team, I'm good with it. Like you said, I want to win. And I love there's a few players that have some favorites on the team, but if they have to go because we're gonna, get better, I'm all for it. The thing about it is who's available. That's something we don't know. What I do like is the Knicks are in position if somebody shakes loose. I do like that in terms of the assets that we have. But I'm with you. Can we get somebody who can shoot the three at least 38%? 40 would be great. Can we get a
40 would be
sniper?
great.
Can we get a sniper on the perimeter? Can we get somebody on the perimeter that can defend the position?
Right.
To me, that 2 and 3 position have to be upgraded. And I'm okay if it's upgraded internally. Grimes and RJ Barrett come into their own, that's fine. But it needs to be upgraded. You just cannot get, and I'm not, every time I say it, I have to preface it by saying I'm not banging on Grimes. He's where he needs to be at this point in his development. Overall, he's shooting the three at a good clip. I get it. But I just need somebody that when those passes are coming off of Julius Randle and Brunson because they're double teamed, I needed to go to somebody that 8 times out of 10 they're gonna knock it down,
Right.
especially in crunch time. I just need that. Where would the Knicks would have 50 wins already if we had that?
Right. Real King said Bradley Beal. Real King. This I'm gonna throw a name out there, Real King, and it's probably gonna ruin y'all day. I'm gonna just say it anyway. I think the perfect fit for what we're looking to do
Mhm.
is Paul George.
Oh, come on, that's what I was saying. If we could get Paul George, and let me tell you, Freezy, if this was last year, I would say, nah, Paul George doesn't fit our timeline. But I think
Right.
the Knicks are close. So I
Right.
don't think age is an issue now. Like there was a time when I was like, nah, that guy's too old. By the time we get ready for championship contention, that guy gonna be over the hill. But I think the Knicks are close. So yeah, if we able to to get Paul George, bring him on.
If the Knicks next year or this summer can move, say, a Grimes, a quickly OB, RJ, something like that package to the Clippers for Paul George, I think this, and for this reason, for this reason, I say that when they trap Jalen Brunson, Paul George is a good enough, almost great ball handler where he can help Quentin Grimes in the backcourt. Paul George on the perimeter is the elite shutdown wing defender that Tom Thibodeau needs in order for his defense to not do these ups and downs during the season. Right? On those nights where Randall's shots not going, Paul George can help create shots for Randall where Randall can kind of get it going. And if he can't, you still have two legit all-star scorers in Brunson and Paul George. Here's the question though. Are you willing to sacrifice the kids in order to bring in a Paul George? And and here's the thing. Before we answer that yes or no, or before we say, hey man, Uncle Freezie, you crazy, think about when we get to the upper levels of the playoffs. Now we go from Josh Hart, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Mitch Robinson guarding Giannis to a better rotation of guys that can guard Giannis. Paul George can't guard Giannis, but he can definitely do it, but better than RJ Barrett. He can do it better than Quentin Grimes. You know what I'm saying? And when the Knicks face the Celtics in the playoffs, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, we're rolling out Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes to guard Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. All of a sudden, when you have Paul George, that rotation of wing defenders looks different. when guarding those type of guys.
Right.
So I know I might be on fantasy island, but you know,
The one thing I would disagree with is Paul George, being an outlet when Brunson is double teamed. Brunson is not going to be double teamed with Paul George on this team. but,
okay,
but Brunson don't even have to worry about double teams. You got Randall, you got Paul George.
okay,
Brunson don't have to be double teamed. And to me, Paul George would be the best player on the team if he came over.
okay.
He would be our best player.
But even Paul George admitted recently that he is the second best player on the championship team.
Okay, I can hear what
Right,
he's saying.
right,
But on this team, he would be our best player. But I hear what he's saying.
right,
But that he would need help. He's not a number one. He's a number two. But he's not a number two to Randall and Brunson, in my opinion.
right. No. So the thing when you bring Paul George here, and that's the reason why I brought up the point about moving the sofa. A lot of times, Paul George was on teams where, when it comes to moving that sofa, when he was in Indiana,
Yeah,
he
it was
wasn't
strapped to his back, and he couldn't even take a step.
right.
Yeah.
Early on, he was reading directions. He wasn't even didn't because they had David West and Danny Granger
Mhm.
and Roy Hibbert and all of that, and those guys. And then once they left, he had to move the sofa by himself,
Right. No doubt.
and it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you bringing him here, and I think honestly, we have the assets to get him and maybe another player.
You want him over Kawhi?
Yes,
Okay.
not because Kawhi's a bad player, but at this
Yeah,
point,
injury. Both of them are injury prone, though.
yeah, but where Paul George is a 2/3 or a 3/2,
Hmm.
Kawhi Leonard is a 3/4. You feel me? So it's like, to get the very best of Kawhi, I think you have to have him. I just like Paul George's ball handling, basically.
Ball handling. That's the
That's the
difference.
separator.
Yeah. Kawhi is a year younger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. No. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Is it? Am I too far off base, or is
No.
there?
No.
Did I take this example to the extreme?
No, you didn't. Because one of the things I was saying earlier in the season is that if the Knicks want to eventually become a championship team, they're going to have to get off of some of these young guys, and they're going to have to go out and get players who's played in the playoffs and have playoff experience. Randall and not that Brunson is 26, Randall is 28. You waiting for these young guys to grow up. Randall could be 31, 32.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think you're able to accelerate your championship contention window by going out and getting guys who understand what it is to play in the playoffs, because it's different. Performing in the playoffs is different than in the regular season. And I just don't think if we sit on the team the way it's basically constructed and wait for internal growth, me personally, I don't think this team will eventually grow into a championship contending team with no changes. I don't have a lot of faith in that. Is it possible? Of course. I don't have a lot of faith in that. I like Paul George. The issue with him is he's out again. But this is a freak, and this is, you know, a, a freak injury. I think somebody came down on his leg. I don't know if you can blame him,
Right.
for that.
Right.
But the only issue with Paul George is the injury history. Other than that, he would be great on this team. Great.
But elite two-way wings stay hurt. Right. No matter who you go down the list on elite two-way wings, even if you start at the very top with Kevin Durant,
Mhm.
stays hurt. Right. All the way down to, say, Cam Johnson, stays hurt. Right. The only outlier is Mikal Bridges, who stays healthy, really healthy, durable, but he's an outlier. Right. I mean, when
Yeah.
it comes to those type of guys, you can't ask somebody to stay in the fray without something unfortunate happening.
But they miss a lot of games. We're not even talking about 5, 10. We're talking about like 20,
20,
25. Yeah,
25.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
a lot. You know, Jalen
What about
Brown
OG?
don't get injured like that. Jason Tatum don't get injured like that, you know?
I mean, well, Jalen Brown does stay hurt. He just played through it. Like he just recently broke his face.
Yeah.
He just plays. He just played through it all the time. Right. Like for instance, you don't. I expect Jason Tatum to play 18, 19 years. I expect Jalen Brown to play 11 or 12
Mm,
because of the accumulation of injuries over time will wear you down. That's just part of it.
right.
So I mean, even LeBron, the greatest two-way wing that we've ever seen, stays hurt.
Hmm.
Well, let me add. Is it Mission Impossible asking for a two-way wing?
It's hard. A two-way healthy wing. Oh, yeah, it's not is you know, it's not easy. You know, it's not easy. Um, yeah, yeah.
So if we don't do Paul George, then what? Then that if we don't do a Paul George type thing, do we try to upgrade the two?
That would be good too.
That's even harder because those got Devin Booker. Devin Booker is starting to accumulate injuries.
Yeah, but that
Zach
see,
Levine.
he's not going anywhere. Like, I don't think they're trading Devin Booker.
No, they ain't trading Devin Booker. I'm just
Yeah,
throwing out names for the example
right,
though.
right.
Zach Levine is already an injury concern. Injuries. What about Anthony Edwards, Iron Man?
I would
Minnesota
love
ain't trading him,
yeah, they not trading him. Yeah, but I
right?
would love
Wh-
him.
what about DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta?
I would like DeAndre Hunter, um, too. I mean, yeah, he's a good defender.
But
Yeah.
he's more the same. He's more ham sandwiches. That's just he's just a bigger ham sandwich. He's on a hoagie roll,
Nah, but he could defend the position better than RJ Barrett can.
right?
And I think
But
he's shooting the three better than RJ Barrett. And
right,
that's what we need on this team.
but he can't create offense.
But does everybody on the team have to create offense though? It does help though.
Yeah.
It does help to have somebody who can put the ball on the floor.
Yeah, and so I see what Paris Duggan. I saw Paris Duggan comment. He says when you don't believe in young talented people growing into stars together, it's a bit short sighted. Everyone has to be allowed to become their best selves. Yeah, hey Paris, listen. I understand where you're coming from with that. What I'm saying is the question was posed to me, and that's why when I spoke to the Queen Bee about it, I made
Everybody
sure.
doesn't have to be allowed to be their best self. This is basketball. This is not a humanitarian effort, right? This is basketball. You
Okay.
cannot sit and wait for people to maybe they'll grow into stars. So Paris Doug, are you telling me that you believe if this team stays together that they're going to grow into a championship contender? And how much are you willing to put on that? We got to stop with that. Parish Duggar come with the same thing every time. Let's just hold. Let's just hold. You know, Grimes is going to become a star. Quickly is going to become a star. We got stars in house. And then the next thing you know, our window then closed. And the furthest we've gotten is the second round. Everybody tries to improve their team. The Knicks have to be one of them. I do not believe this team staying put is going to eventually grow into a championship contender. And
Okay.
if you have an opportunity to get off a player and get somebody who's already proven, why would you not do that?
But the hard part for our patients though, right, is finding out who that player is. So it's like the thing is if we're on Hope Street and I'm looking this way on Hope Street, hoping that these young kids are gonna develop into stars, and I look this way on Hope Street, hoping that we can get a star will come our way. I think we're kind of like, you know what I'm saying, both in the same place, waiting on something that we don't have a straightforward answer to.
But this is the difference, though. You're staying pat until somebody comes along. So I agree with you. What I don't agree with is somebody comes along and people want to stay pat.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? If nobody
Right.
comes along, you stay pat. But the idea that somebody comes along and you stay pat. And this person is proven that they can play in this league. They've proven that they have success in the playoffs.
Right.
Sometimes things don't work out, right? Kyrie didn't work out in Boston, but on paper, you think if we get this guy, we're going to be better.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that because I think Grimes is going to be a star in 5 years. Well, okay, this guy is a star right now.
I'm with you on that point. I'm trying to think of a team that went out and got a star, and that star led them to a championship.
Kawhi Leonard.
Versus huh?
Kawhi Leonard. Listen, we're not asking.
LeBron James, right?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about a piece.
Okay.
I'm talking about a piece. You know, I don't believe internal growth is going to get the Knicks there. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not. It's not that it's impossible. It's possible. But you're going to pass up if a star comes along. You're going to pass it up, Freezie, for our young guys.
The Knicks did that this summer.
Okay.
Right. I'm still getting over it. I'm still mourning that every day. That the Knicks didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell. I think right now, today, if the Knicks had Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, right now this team would be at 53, 54 wins. Right. I think Jalen Brunson and that kid would have been dynamic together. Right. And I know people say, well, it would have been the shortest backcourt of blah blah. Yeah, I get it. Right. But guards don't post up guards anymore.
To take advantage of it like they used to.
Like they used to, right.
Like they used to.
Right. And now bigs don't post up guards anymore. Bigs shoot threes. So if you're telling me that 2-6-1 guys in a backcourt can't win a championship, I don't believe that's the case in today's basketball, especially when I watched the Sacramento Kings the other night. Man, I watched the Sacramento Kings offense the other night, and there was a set. I think they had Mitchell and the 2 Kentucky kids on the floor at the same time. Now, listen, Red Velvet is a good NBA player. Red Velvet, he might be in the most improved conversation, right? The kid Kevin Herter, right? He should be in the most improved conversation. But I saw Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, and Davion Mitchell together, and the Clippers had no answers, none. So when you talk about like height and all that stuff, unless you ride in a roller coaster, height don't matter that much at certain positions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah. So Queen, I don't know, but
I mean, but we're talking about it in a vacuum. We got to have. Let's see what comes across the Knicks desk. Let's see what comes across the Knicks desk, because I'm not for trading Grimes just to trade him. I'm not for trading Quickly. To me, Quickly is reasonably untradeable. Reasonably.
yeah,
He's not somebody I would trade. He's
yeah,
reasonably, yeah.
he's that point guard that we need off the bench.
Yeah. And he could play the versatility. He could play 1. He could play 2. He can start. He could come off
Right.
the bench. I'm not trading Quickly. However, if a star comes across, everybody is up to be
Depending
traded.
on the level of
Depending
that
on the
star.
level of the star.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And we're not going to know that. That's why it's hard to say in a vacuum, oh, I'm not trading this guy. I'm not trading this guy, until you see till you have an actual person that helps you to be able to make those decisions.
So we should prepare ourselves to make the move if the move is there to be made.
If the move is there to be made, but I don't see the Knicks getting a star over the summer.
Me
I
either.
don't really see anybody becoming available. And
Right.
and if nobody becomes available, just stay the course. See what improvements you can make. You're going to get some internal improvements as well. Just stay the course. You don't have to rush. You don't have to go out there trying to make something, happen.
Okay. So before we get out of here, I want to say one other thing, and I think hopeful Knicks fans like myself understand where I'm going with it. I think this team is coasting right now, but when the playoffs start, I think we're going to make a serious run. I think we're going to make a serious run, right? Um, um, I think that I think where we are is we can see for the first time in a bajillion years, we can see the finish line, and it's not a fake finish line,
Right.
right? Like the COVID season was a fake finish line, right? This time we played 82 games. The Eastern Conference was the toughest conference.
Right.
Everybody in the conference improved.
Right.
We had a guy make the All-Star team, and he wasn't like a All-Star alternate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Julius Randle is probably playing the best basketball of his career. We got a point guard. We
Right.
got two big men that are at reasonably healthy.
Right.
We have a group of wing players that we trust,
Right.
right? And so when the playoffs start, I think we're going to bring all of those things together and make serious noise in the playoffs. The first round is nothing. I think we win in the first round. I don't care who it is we playing.
Wow.
I think this is a second round playoff team. And if we get fortunate to have, say, a Miami knock off a Milwaukee, so to speak, and we get Miami in the second round, book your tickets to the Eastern Conference Finals. Book them.
Wow. Hey,
Book
I
them.
hope you're right.
Book 'em
I hope
because
you.
I'm confident we could beat Cleveland in the first round, right? And if we get blessed to have, say, an Atlanta knock off a Boston, which is not likely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if it happens, though, if it happens, if we get the 7 beat the 2 or the 6 beat the 3, and we face one of those teams, book it.
Yeah.
Book it.
Yeah. You know what it is, Freezy? Which Knicks are we getting in the playoffs? If we get in that Knicks that was on that 9-game winning streak, yeah, no doubt about it. Are we getting the Knicks that played Miami and Minnesota? You know what I mean? Which Knicks team are we getting? Because when the Knicks are operating on all cylinders, I like their chances against anybody in a playoff series.
Right. Right.
You know?
And Paris, like I says, our guys through attrition will be top players in 2 years. And I understand play basically by the league getting older, our young players will catapult up into a top, get better basically. And Dre says if the Knicks finish fifth, they play the 1 seed. Yeah, because we got the
In the
4-5
second round.
matchup. Yeah,
He's talking about in the second round?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, listen, I think right now, who's the number 1 seed right now? Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of them. That's who I want.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's who I want the Knicks to play. They beat us this year on a wing and a prayer.
But that was before Middleton came back, though. And they've been playing well and they've been shooting well. And
Right.
that's what makes them dangerous because you got to pick your poison. And that's where I want the Knicks to get with the improved in perimeter shooting, where you have to pick your poison. You're gonna let
Right.
Jalen Brunson and Randall rock, or you're gonna throw your energy on them and let these 40% perimeter shooters we've gotten beat you. That's
Now,
where I want the Knicks to get to.
think about this. Who in the NBA can stop Giannis?
No,
Nobody, right?
nobody.
Who in the NBA can stop Grayson Allen and Javon Carter?
Well,
Anybody.
yeah.
Anybody. So
Right.
instead of focusing on stopping Giannis, I'm just letting Giannis score his 60. And because you remember the game we lost to Luka where Luka had the 60-point triple double?
Mhm.
They still barely beat us in overtime.
But they got middle. That's still going to be a tough. But I hear what you're saying. Just let him get his 60 and just hold everybody else down. But if the Knicks
Right.
play defense like they played last night,
Right. We're gonna get roasted either way. He gonna get his 60 and they gonna get their 60 also. Yeah, if we play like
we'll
we
be
played
better.
last night.
We'll be better though. We'll be better. But
Yeah.
that's a good point. Don't let your best player, their best player, beat you.
Right. Yeah. My thing is just real quickly. My thing is the Knicks are a lot better than what we show at times,
Yes, I
which
agree.
is kind of like a blessing and a curse. It's like a blessing in disguise for the Knicks, right? I'm talking about for the actual players because that means people asleep on them.
Hmm.
But for Knicks fans, it's a curse because we've been watching losing basketball for so long. We don't ever want to even consider that this team may be backsliding or regressing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, one of them, But yeah, bring on Milwaukee. Well, who's scared in the
They play
second
good
round?
defense though. Somebody just brought up, and it's true that they top three, maybe even the top defensive team in the league.
Right. But Queen B, you missing what I'm saying. I'm not concerned about the 28 other teams and
Mhm,
this comparison. I'm
mhm,
talking about the Knicks and the Bucks,
mhm.
right? The Knicks are a matchup nightmare for the Bucks. You know how every team in the NBA, no matter how good they are, they have a
Right.
team
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
always. You remember when Golden State was winning all those championships? You remember how frustrated Memphis used to make them?
Right.
They never, they never, and this is before Ja, right? This is the Mike Conley, Mark Gasol Memphis Grizzlies. You know what I'm saying? This is that Memphis Grizzlies
Mhm.
that gave them hell, right? What I'm saying is I watched them and I saw Giannis get off, right? But I saw Drew Holiday hit two 25-foot threes over Quentin Grimes to seal the game. How
Oh
often is Drew Holiday going to take and make that shot in an NBA game?
yeah. Yeah. The only thing I'll say is Middleton didn't play in those games, so he'll help out. But I hear what you're saying, and I
We
agree.
got we
The
got a
Knicks,
guy we got a guy coming off the bench too. We got Josh Hart. I mean, Middleton's coming off their bench, right?
he's back to starting now.
Okay,
But he
okay,
was going coming off the bench for a while. He was.
okay.
Um, yeah. I mean, listen, we've even last year we've played Milwaukee well. Like when we've lost those games, it wasn't by a lot. They never blew us out.
Right,
You know, Miami beat Milwaukee, one season, but that was before they got those shooters around um Giannis.
right,
Listen, to me, it's about the Knicks. Which Knick team is going to show up in the playoffs?
right. Um, if Tibbs don't get the version of the Knicks that we want to see to show up,
Hmm.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror, Tibbs. I'm starting with that guy, Tibbs. I'm starting with Tibbs because if Tibbs can't press the button to get the best out of his team, then can you really trust him again to do it again next year?
Well, to get the best out of what though? And I get you. The concerns about Tibbs and his adjustments is legit. But the bottom line is the players got to show up too. You got to show up.
Right,
And some teams are just better than you.
right,
Some teams are just better now.
right. I understand.
So
I
you're saying
understand.
that if we don't beat Milwaukee in the second round, Tibbs got to go. If we get swept by Milwaukee in the second round, Tibbs got to go.
No, 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 no. Hear me out on it. I'm saying you got to get to Milwaukee first.
Hmm.
So if you don't get to Milwaukee and you look bad stumbling on the way to losing before you get to Milwaukee, then you got to look at Tibbs because getting out of the stumbling block is something because we took Atlanta lightly too also 2 years ago.
You think so?
Yeah, oh, very much so. I think, man, we was in Atlanta looking over the Hawks. We didn't even respect them. Queen B, we
Listen,
was in their arena. No lie, no lie. State Farm Arena was sold out, right? The Knicks fans were so loud in State Farm Arena, they had to pump in crowd noise to drown us out. right? No lie, hand to the man. I got people that will corroborate this
Yeah,
story.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Not that part. Not that part. I'm about to say just one other, just something else to lead up to that. What I'm saying is, when we were there in Atlanta, don't you know they were flashing Lawrence tears on their jumbotron, not knowing that we were Knicks fans on ABC. They because we bought the suite. They were like, "Thank you to Lawrence tears," and it's all orange and blue, and they doing all their thing, and we were so.
But then listen, this is what I will say about Tibbs, and I hate going back to that series. The Knicks lost the first 2 games by like 3-4 points to get whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and our first unit wasn't great, but when that second unit
terrible.
came in, led by Rose, they would rock.
Right.
Because Rose had a good third quarter, whatever it is, Tibbs now decides to put him in the second lineup.
In the starting lineup.
Now, the second unit has no edge whatsoever.
Right.
And that first unit is now equal with Atlanta. It's not even like we was ahead. We went from maybe being 3 points behind them, 4 points behind them a game, to now being equal with them, but weakening our second unit significantly. That was the worst. And we got blown out in every game Derrick Rose started. Stop.
I get that, but when we were at game 3, Elfrid Payton was mentally checked out.
Okay, he was only playing 6 minutes, sleepwalk.
Yeah,
so we could keep everything the way it was.
Elfrid Payton was checked out. I don't even think Elfrid played in the NBA since. You know what I'm saying? Elfrid Payton legit.
I get it. No, I said I get it.
Yeah, I think they had to do something. Elfrid Payton was just not there. Taj Gibson, ask Jay Boogie this story. Me and Jay Boogie were leaning over the rail, looking at Taj Gibson, yelling in the face of Elfrid Payton to get his stuff together. What are you doing, man? It's the playoffs. And Elfrid Payton was standing behind the Gatorade, the big orange Gatorade coolers that they be having to refill the cups and all that stuff. He was standing back there disengaged, like he didn't want to be there. Like he was having you had to do something.
Needed him for 6 minutes, though.
Yeah,
he was
I know.
playing 6 minutes in the first, for us to keep our rotation the way, the way it was. Anyway, we made the change that we thought we needed to make. We put Derrick Rose in that lineup, and we got blown out.
Because Derrick Rose got hurt immediately. Derrick Rose came in and got hurt, like within the first 30 minutes. Derrick Rose got hurt in game 3, and he was never the same for the rest of the series.
He couldn't even play
Elfrid
in
Payton
game
was
6.
mentally checked out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm saying he couldn't even play. To your point, he couldn't even play in game 6.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's one of them things, man, where now that we have Jalen Brunson, I don't see any of that stuff happening.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
No
Queen
doubt.
B, I got to get out of here.
Yep. So do I.
I got an appointment at 1:30.
Okay. A pleasure. So next week we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna do it on Dope Soul Sports Talk. And nothing changes for you guys. Nothing changes for you guys. It's just that we're gonna alternate 1 week on Freezie's channel, another week on my channel.
Right.
But it's gonna be the same great content. It's gonna be at the same time.
Right.
So nothing changes for you guys.
Right. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
So for those of y'all watching, man, welcome to that neighborhood, neighbors. This is I think this is what we're gonna call it for the time being. We're gonna call it the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the neighborhood. This is what we're gonna do. Mm-hmm. Next time I'm gonna do less talking and let Queen B rock and put all, you know what I'm saying? And thank you everybody for rocking. And Queen B, I was joking about the 1:30 thing. I'm so late. I'm so far behind. You know what I'm saying? I'm so far behind.
That's what happens when we get together. That's what happens.
That's what happens. So anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. We'll holler at y'all later. Peace.